The crystal chandelier above the dining table threw fractured light across 50 faces, all of them watching me. My future mother-in-law, Patricia Thornton, stood at the head of the table, wineglass raised, smile sharp as broken glass. She cleared her throat, and the room fell silent. "I want to say a few words about my son's fiancé, Harper." My stomach tightened. I knew that tone. I'd heard it 100 times before. She looked directly at me, her eyes cold, her voice sweet as poison. "Harper is lovely. But let's be honest, she's not from our world. She doesn't come from the kind of family that understands what it means to uphold a legacy. And frankly, I don't think she's good enough for James." The room didn't gasp. It just froze. My fiancé looked at his plate. His father shifted uncomfortably, and I sat there, fork in hand, feeling every eye on me, waiting for me to break. But I didn't. I just smiled. Because what Patricia didn't know was that in 5 days, my name would be on every newspaper in Sydney. And she was going to eat every single word. My name is Harper Reed. I'm 36 years old, and I grew up in a working-class suburb of Perth, about as far from Sydney's elite circles as you can get. My dad was a tradie. My mum worked at a local school canteen. We didn't have much, but we had enough. I studied hard, earned a scholarship to the University of Sydney, and that's where I met James Thornton. He was charming, kind, grounded, or at least I thought he was. He came from old money, the kind of family that had streets named after them. His mother, Patricia, was Sydney socialite royalty. Garden parties, charity galas, memberships at exclusive clubs. And from the very first time I met her, she made it clear I didn't belong. It started small. Comments about my clothes. "Oh, that's a cute dress, Harper. Is it from a chain store?" Questions about my family. "So your father works with his hands?" How quaint. Suggestions about my career. "Architecture is such a demanding field for a woman. Have you thought about something more flexible?" Every family dinner was a minefield. Every holiday gathering was a performance where I was always slightly off script. James would tell me I was overthinking it. "Mum's just old-fashioned," he'd say. But it wasn't old-fashioned. It was cruelty wrapped in politeness. And it was breaking me down piece by piece. If you've ever felt like you weren't good enough for someone's family, no matter how hard you tried, stay with me. This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because you're going to want to see how this unfolds. Trust me. I met James 8 years ago in a design studio at uni. He was studying finance. I was in my 3rd year of architecture. We were paired for a cross-discipline project, and he made me laugh in a way I hadn't in months. He didn't talk about money or status. He talked about ideas, about travel, about what kind of world we wanted to build. I fell for him fast, and for a while, it felt like we were building something real. But then I met his family. The Thorntons lived in a heritage mansion in Mosman, overlooking Sydney Harbor, the kind of place that had been in the family for 4 generations. When James first brought me there for Sunday lunch, I wore my best dress, practiced my small talk, smiled until my cheeks ached. Patricia greeted me at the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So, you're the girl James has been telling us about," she said, looking me up and down like I was a piece of furniture she was considering returning. Lunch was excruciating. Patricia asked where I went to school. When I said public school in Perth, she nodded slowly, as if that explained everything. She asked what my parents did. When I told her, she said, "How hard-working," in a tone that made it sound like an insult. James's father, Robert, was kinder but distant. His younger sister, Charlotte, barely acknowledged me. I left that day feeling smaller than I'd ever felt. James kissed me in the car and said, "You did great." But I knew I hadn't. I knew I'd failed some invisible test I didn't even know I was taking. Over the years, it got worse. Patricia would forget to invite me to family events. She'd introduce me to her friends as James's friend, even after we'd been together for 3 years. She'd make comments about my hair, my accent, my career, always with a smile, always in front of people. And James. He'd defend me in private, but in public he stayed silent. He'd say, "She'll come around eventually, just give her time." But time only made her bolder. When James proposed to me 2 years ago on Bondi Beach at sunset, I cried, not just from joy but from relief. I thought, finally, this will make her accept me. But it didn't. If anything, it made her worse. The engagement party was Patricia's idea. She insisted on hosting it at their home, inviting the right people. I wasn't allowed to invite more than 10 of my own friends and family. My parents flew over from Perth, looking completely out of place among the designer suits and champagne flutes. My mum whispered to me, "Are you sure about this, love?" And I lied and said yes, because I loved James, and I thought love would be enough. But standing in that dining room, listening to Patricia tell 50 people I wasn't good enough, I realized something. Love wasn't the problem. Respect was. And I was done begging for it. Have you ever been told you're not good enough even when you knew you were? Drop the word enough in the comments if you've felt that pain. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. You're going to want to see what happens next. What Patricia didn't know, what James didn't even fully know, was what I'd been working on for the past 3 years. I'm not just an architect. I'm a senior project lead at one of the most prestigious heritage firms in Australia. For the last 3 years, I'd been heading the restoration and redesign of the Queen Victoria building in Sydney. It's one of the most iconic structures in the country, a heritage-listed masterpiece that needed careful, delicate, visionary work. The project was massive. $50 million. A team of over 100 people. And I was leading it. The firm kept it under strict confidentiality until the unveiling. No press. No leaks. Just quiet, meticulous work. I didn't tell James's family, not because I was ashamed, but because I knew how they'd react. Patricia would find a way to diminish it. She'd say something like, "Oh, how nice. James's cousin did something similar once." Or she'd ignore it entirely. So I kept it to myself. I poured everything into that project. Late nights, early mornings, weekends at the site. It became my refuge, the one place where I wasn't judged for where I came from, only for the quality of my work. My team respected me, my clients trusted me, and when the project was finally completed, my boss told me it was the best work the firm had seen in 20 years. The public unveiling was scheduled for 5 days after the engagement party. The Premier of New South Wales would be there. Media from across the country. It was going to be huge. And my name, Harper Reed, would be front and center. But I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I wanted to see how the engagement party played out first. Some part of me, some stubborn, hopeful part, wanted to believe that maybe Patricia would surprise me. Maybe she'd be kind. Maybe she'd welcome me. I was wrong. The night of the party, I wore a simple navy dress. Nothing flashy. I didn't want to give Patricia more ammunition. My parents sat quietly at a corner table, smiling politely, clearly uncomfortable. James was nervous, I could tell. He kept squeezing my hand under the table, whispering, "It's going to be fine." But I knew better. I'd learned to read Patricia's moods. And tonight, she was in a dangerous one. The kind where she wanted to assert dominance, to remind everyone, especially me, who held the power in this family. Dinner was served. Salmon, roasted vegetables, expensive wine. Conversation flowed around me, but I barely heard it. I was watching Patricia. She kept glancing at me, that tight smile never leaving her face. And then, just as dessert was being served, she stood up, tapped her glass with a knife. The room went silent. "I'd like to say a few words," she began. My stomach dropped. James tensed beside me. My son James is a remarkable man. He comes from a long line of remarkable men. Our family has built something meaningful in this city, something that requires dedication, integrity, and the right kind of partnership. She paused, letting the words settle. Then she looked directly at me. Harper is a lovely girl. She's tried very hard to fit in. But the truth is, she's not from our world. She doesn't understand the responsibilities that come with the Thornton name. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't believe she's good enough for my son. The silence that followed was suffocating. I felt my parents stiffen across the room. James's hand dropped from mine. His face was pale, frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. Patricia raised her glass. So here's to James. May he find the clarity to make the right choice. She drank. A few people awkwardly lifted their glasses. Most didn't. I stood up slowly. My legs felt like water, but I didn't let it show. I looked at Patricia, then at James. Thank you for making everything so clear, I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. I was surprised by that. I think I need to reconsider whether this is the right family for me. James reached for me. Harper, wait, please. But I pulled away. I walked out of that dining room, through the grand hallway, past the portraits of Thornton ancestors, and out the front door into the cool Sydney night. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood there, breathing, feeling something inside me shift. Not break. Shift. I drove back to my apartment in Newtown, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat on my balcony staring at the city lights. My phone buzzed nonstop. James calling, texting. Harper, please come back. We need to talk. Mum didn't mean it like that. Please. I didn't answer. Not that night. I just sat there, thinking about everything I'd sacrificed to try to belong in a world that never wanted me. And I realized something. I didn't need to belong there. I had built my own world. And in 5 days, everyone was going to see it. This is where everything changes. The part you've been waiting for is coming. Stay with me, because what happens next is going to leave you speechless. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, do it now. You don't want to miss this. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Most were from James. A few from my friends who'd been at the party. One from my mom. Are you okay, sweetheart? Come home if you need to. But I wasn't going home. I was going to work. I showered, dressed, and drove to the Queen Victoria building. The project was in its final stages. The scaffolding was coming down. The unveiling was in 4 days. I walked through the restored halls, running my hand along the intricate ironwork we'd painstakingly repaired, gazing up at the stained glass dome that now gleamed like new. This was my legacy, not a last name. Not a family mansion. This. My phone rang. James. I answered this time. Harper, please, we need to talk. His voice was strained, desperate. There's nothing to talk about, James. Your mother made it very clear how she feels, and you sat there and said nothing. I know, I should have defended you. I'm sorry. Please, just come over. Let's fix this. I leaned against a marble column, closing my eyes. James, I've spent 8 years trying to prove myself to your family. I'm done. I don't need their approval. I don't need their acceptance. And honestly, I'm not sure I need you anymore either. He was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice broke. Don't say that. I love you. Please don't give up on us. Then prove it, I said. Prove that you're willing to stand up to her, not in private, in public, in front of the people who watched her humiliate me. I will, he said quickly. I promise, just give me a chance. I hung up. I didn't believe him. Not yet. I'd heard promises before. The next 3 days passed in a blur. I focused on final preparations for the unveiling. Press releases went out. Invitations were confirmed. My name was listed as lead architect on every piece of media. And then, the day before the event, I got a call from Patricia. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Harper. Her voice was stiff, formal. We need to talk. I don't think we do, I said calmly. Please, just hear me out. I sighed. Fine, you have 2 minutes. She paused, clearly not used to being given ultimatums. I may have been too harsh at the party. I was trying to protect James. You have to understand, our family has standards. Standards, I repeated flatly. Yes, and I simply don't think you're prepared for the kind of life James needs to lead. Something in me snapped, not violently, quietly, like a door closing. Patricia, tomorrow there's going to be a public event at the Queen Victoria building. You should watch the news. I think you'll find it very educational. I hung up before she could respond. The day of the unveiling arrived. I wore a tailored black suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Professional, powerful, unbothered. The crowd gathered in the main hall of the QVB. Politicians, journalists, architects, preservationists, history buffs. My boss gave the opening remarks, then introduced me. It's my great honor to introduce the visionary behind this extraordinary restoration, Harper Reed. I stepped up to the microphone. Flashbulbs went off, cameras rolled, and I spoke. Not about Patricia, not about James, just about the work, the history, the craftsmanship, the vision. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. The premier shook my hand. Journalists swarmed me with questions. My face, my name, my work was everywhere. The Sydney Morning Herald, ABC News, Channel 7. By that evening, I was trending on social media. People were calling it one of the most important heritage projects in Australian history. And at the center of it all was me, Harper Reed, the girl from Perth who wasn't good enough. My phone exploded. Messages from old friends, colleagues, clients, and then, finally, James. I just saw the news. Harper, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked, I replied. And it was true. In 8 years, James had never once asked to see my work, never visited a site, never asked what I was building. He knew I was an architect the way you know someone's job title, but he didn't know me. An hour later, Patricia called. I didn't answer. She called again. And again. Finally, she left a voicemail. Her voice was different now. Shaky. Panicked. Harper, I saw the news. I had no idea you were involved in something so significant. I think we need to talk. Please call me back. I deleted it. The next day, flowers arrived at my office. Expensive ones. The card read, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Patricia. I threw them in the bin. That evening, James showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't let him in. But when I opened the door, he looked different, tired, humbled, broken. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, looking around like he'd never been here before. Harper, I'm so sorry. For everything. For not defending you. For not seeing you. For letting my mother treat you that way. I crossed my arms. Sorry isn't enough, James. I know, he said quickly. That's why I told her. I told her that if she doesn't apologize to you properly, in front of the same people who heard her insult you, then the wedding is off. I blinked. You did what? He nodded. I told her I'm done choosing her over you. I should have done it years ago. And I'm sorry it took this long. But I'm doing it now. I'm standing up. For you. For us. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. James, I can't marry into a family that doesn't respect me. Then we'll make them respect you, he said firmly. Or we'll walk away from them entirely. Your choice. But I'm not losing you. 2 weeks later, Patricia hosted another dinner. This time, it was different. Smaller, just close family and the people who'd been at the engagement party. I almost didn't go, but James convinced me. "This is your moment," he said. "Let her say it. Let them all hear it." So I went. I wore the same navy dress. I sat at the same table. And when dinner was served, Patricia stood up. She didn't look smug this time. She looked small, uncomfortable. She cleared her throat. "I owe someone here an apology." The room went still. I said some things at the engagement party that were unfair, unkind, and untrue. Harper Reed is an extraordinary woman. She's accomplished more than I ever gave her credit for. And I was wrong to suggest she wasn't good enough for my son. She looked directly at me. "I'm sorry, Harper. Truly." The room was silent. Everyone watched me, waiting. I stood up slowly, walked over to Patricia, and extended my hand. "Thank you," I said simply. She shook it, relief flooding her face. I didn't hug her. I didn't forgive her entirely. But I accepted the apology, because it wasn't about her anymore. It was about me, about knowing my worth, about setting boundaries, about refusing to be small. James and I got married 6 months later. It was a beautiful ceremony, on my terms. My family, my friends, my venue. Patricia was there. She was polite, respectful, but distant. And that was fine. I didn't need her warmth. I just needed her to stay in her lane. The Queen Victoria Building project won several awards. My career skyrocketed. I was offered partnerships, international projects, speaking engagements, and through it all, I carried one lesson. Your value isn't determined by who accepts you. It's determined by who you are when no one's watching. If someone has ever made you feel like you're not enough, I want you to hear this. You are enough. You always were. Their inability to see it is their failure, not yours. What do you think? Should I have forgiven Patricia? Or should I have walked away entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. There are more powerful stories coming. Thank you for listening. And remember, respect isn't given, it's earned, and sometimes demanded.